Sagittarius. There is a sign that will appear on the first Sunday of June, and if you ignore it, you may miss the one chance the universe has crafted especially for you. Not everyone gets a warning, but you've just been chosen to receive this one. A strange dream, a message with no sender, a phone call no one answers. It is not random, it's a signal, and you don't have much time. If you've been feeling restless without knowing why, if you find it hard to sleep, easy to dream, or your heart feels like it's preparing for something that hasn't happened yet, then know this: it is not an ordinary feeling. Because the first Sunday of June is not just another day, it is a crossing point of energies. A moment when the sky, the stars, and your soul speak all at once. And if you've been wondering, why are you seeing these signs? Why you and why now? Then the answer lies in the planetary map, within the very current of astrology moving strongly around you. Let me take you deeper, to where invisible forces are redrawing the fate of Sagittarius. Sometimes, the first thing to shift is not your reality, but the rhythm of the universe pulsing within you. On the first Sunday of June, an energetic gate is opening, slowly but irreversibly. And those born under Sagittarius will be the first to feel it, like a whisper of starlight inside their chest. Can you hear it? A change, not loud, not dazzling, but powerful enough to shift the entire course of your life. If you don't pause to listen, not because you are weak, but because you are so strong that sometimes you forget to listen to your true feelings. In the astrological chart of this sacred day, the sun forms a divine alignment with Neptune, opening a field of illusion, where sharp intuition becomes your compass, and a restless mind becomes your greatest test. I once doubted all of this, until there came a moment where I felt like I was living inside someone else's body. Everything looked normal, but deep down, I knew I had strayed from myself. Have you ever felt that? That something wasn't right, even though you had no proof? That's not anxiety. That is the soul's reminder. Everything looked minder. In another corner of the sky, Mercury, the planet of intellect and communication, is forming a square with Jupiter, the god of expansion, and also the ruling planet of Sagittarius. This isn't just mental tension. It's a battle between what you know and what you believe. Maybe you'll feel like ending a relationship that has lasted too long. Maybe you'll receive a message you know. If you reply, it will change everything. Or maybe you'll just feel your heart fall silent, as if the universe is making space to deliver something deeply important. Sagittarius is the sign of journeys, of roads, of personal truth. You were not born to stand still, but neither were you born to run away from the truth. This Sunday, the planets are not here to cheer for you. They have come to test you. Can you be still enough to hear the clearest voice within you? Can you be brave enough to admit you've strayed too far from what you once dreamed of? I cannot say for sure what will happen on that day. It might be a dream, a glance, an old memory rising to the surface, or just a stillness that makes you realize you are no longer the person you were yesterday. It could be a phone call from someone you never thought would return, a late apology, a dream where the presence of your father appears, or simply a strange light passing across the room, sending a shiver down your spine and a sting to your eyes. But I believe this: the sign will come, because no wave ever rises without something first shifting deep beneath the ocean. Within the mixed energies of that day, an old truth may surface, a truth you once dismissed because it didn't make logical sense, didn't fit your circumstances, or because it simply scared you. But the soul does not live by logic. The soul lives by truth. And sometimes it takes years to return to a truth so simple, you already know what doesn't feel right, but you weren't ready to stop. This is the time to pause, not to give up, but to look more closely. Write down everything that has made you feel uneasy this week. Take 5 minutes, turn off your phone, sit in stillness, and ask just one question: is something inside me trying to tell me something? If the answer is yes, then write it down. It could be a memory you've buried, an instinct you once ignored, or a spiritual doorway waiting for you to knock. I once thought astrology was a game of belief, but the deeper I went, the more I realized astrology does not offer advice. It offers light, and the rest is whether or not you dare to look at it. On this day, you do not need to search for answers. You only need to pause long enough to remember. The answers never left you. You simply forgot how to trust yourself. If a quiet nudge is tapping on your mind as you hear this, don't dismiss it. Leave a comment, any words at all, because the moment you dare to acknowledge that something stirred in you, you have already stepped through a door that not everyone is quiet enough to see. Are you ready to know? Who is sending you the signs, and what could happen if you don't receive them in time? We will open that door right after this. Sometimes the universe does not scream, it whispers, and only the hearts that are still enough, broken enough, tired enough can hear it. A sign is not always a dark cloud in a clear sky. It might arrive like a feather falling through a crowd, small, but enough to make you stop. There are 3 states the universe often chooses to deliver its messages to Sagittarius, because you, with your keen intuition, are also the one who forgets to listen. You press send on a message and suddenly lose signal. You're about to speak, but a stranger says out loud exactly what you were thinking. That's not just coincidence. That is the overlap of 2 energy fields, your soul and the timing of the universe. I remember a woman once told me this story. Right before signing her divorce papers, she turned on some music, and the song that played was the same one she and her husband had danced to at their wedding. She sat still for 7 minutes, and she didn't sign. 3 weeks later, her husband came back. He confessed everything, and they started again, not because the pain was gone, but because that sign told them something was still unfinished. When you experience a strange coincidence, don't just laugh and move on. Stop, because that moment might just save something your mind is too quick to reject. Sometimes, the ones who have passed are the most alive in your dreams. They don't say much. They just stand there, watching you, or gently touching your shoulder. But when you wake up, your heart trembles like it just passed through a storm no one else saw. You might dream of a father who's gone, standing at a doorway, but not stepping in. You might dream of the house from your childhood, with an old clock still ticking, as if it never fell into silence. You might dream of searching for someone in a city you've never visited, yet somehow, in that dream, you know every street like you once lived there. Dreams are doorways to a realm the mind cannot enter. And on days charged with energy, like the first Sunday of June, those dreams will not just be dreams. They are messages that cross the boundary between 2 worlds to find you and speak what you've been avoiding in daylight. Sometimes, all it takes is a single stray sentence to awaken a whole field of memory inside you. Someone says the name of a person you've tried to forget. Someone asks, "Are you happy?" And your throat tightens. Or, you walk down a familiar street, but that day the wind moves differently. The lights flicker in a softer shade, and something inside you slips downward, as if a piece of your soul is whispering, "Don't keep going." Pause. The universe rarely pushes you down. It simply places a small stone right under your step to see, will you stop, remove your shoes, and look at what's truly in the way? And if you've ever experienced one of those 3 states, a strange coincidence, an unforgettable dream, or a moment that took your breath away without reason, write it down in the comments. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to make perfect sense. Just acknowledge, "I felt something," because that might be the beginning of a greater message, waiting for you to face it fully. And you know what? A sign is never the final chapter. It's always the first doorway. The real question isn't whether you saw it. It's this: will you be brave enough to walk through it? Or will you turn away as if you saw nothing at all? But who is sending these signs to you? And why you, not someone else? Let's step together into the deeper movement behind that door. There are days when you don't wake up because of an alarm clock. You wake because something invisible taps softly inside your chest. No one called your name, but inside you, you know something is happening. Even if the world outside is quiet, the birds still singing, the sky still blue, deep within your intuition, you feel something shifting. A message, a soul, a ripple from the unseen. And you ask yourself, if this is a sign, who sent it? Why me? What am I in this ocean of souls? I've asked that same question. On a moonless night while the world slept, I sat alone on a balcony, listening to the wind breathe and my heart ache. I wasn't waiting for anything. But then, a small firefly appeared, hovering quietly around me. It didn't shine brightly. It didn't create anything spectacular. But in that moment, I felt something deeply sacred. It wasn't the firefly sending the signal. It was something within me that had become ready to receive it. So when you ask, who is sending the signs? The answer isn't just a name, a face, or a separate being. The real answer is this. Your soul has ripened enough to receive the calling. And those signals, they are sent by the very beings who stand guard over the path you no longer remember promising to walk. We live in a harmonious system of energy, where every soul has its own frequency, and the universe moves like a grand symphony. When you stray from the melody that was meant for you, the song will vibrate with warning notes, sometimes through a dream, a stranger, or a symbolic moment that seems small but holds everything. Those notes are the way your late father tries to reach you through memory. The soft tapping of your guardian angel against the ear of your spirit. The voice of cosmic consciousness, which never stays silent when a soul begins to fall from its true orbit. And why you? You were not chosen because you're more special than others. You were chosen because once, in another lifetime, you made a promise to yourself that you would remember. That when the world made you forget who you are, when reality buried your intuition in dust, you would find your way back, even if it were only through a sign as faint as a breath. I know there are days you feel so tired you don't want to search for anything anymore. You just want it all to stop. You wish someone would come and say, "It's enough now, you can rest." And when the sign arrives, sometimes you don't even recognize it as love. Because true love, at the soul's level, often arrives as loneliness first. It doesn't make you feel strong, it breaks you so that you can be rebuilt from deep within the sacred. A woman once told me, she used to dream of an old wooden door. She didn't know what lay behind it. Until one night, her late father appeared and stood before it, saying, "Open it, even if you're afraid." The next day, she called her older sister, whom she hadn't spoken to in nearly 10 years. The call lasted 6 minutes, but it ended a decade of silence. And strangely, that night, the dream never returned. Because the message had been heard, the door had opened, and the soul had completed one note in the song of destiny. So if you're hearing this now, and something nameless feels like it's moving inside your chest, you are not imagining it. You are being awakened, in the language of the inner world. The universe never sends signs to souls that are too busy pretending to live. It only speaks to those who are willing to hurt honestly, to love quietly, and to walk with awareness, even if no one walks beside them. You are the one walking ahead. And that is why the signs reach you sooner, so that you have time to pass the light on to someone still wandering behind. You are not being favored. You are carrying the promise that others have forgotten. If, by this point, you feel something inside you has been touched, please don't brush it off. Leave a single line in the comments, just to mark that you are here. I have heard the calling. And you'll see, something will begin to shift. Because when a sign comes, you don't just need to listen. You need to know there are things you absolutely must not do if you wish to protect the light awakening within you. And in the next part, I will tell you about the 3 things you must avoid to guard the doorway of your soul that has just opened. It is no accident that you, a Sagittarius, are being spoken to in this moment. Because you are the soul of the journey, the one born to keep searching, to break limits, to see beyond the horizon. But because you carry that flame, the universe often sends you its most subtle trials, right at the moment you think you're finally ready. On the first Sunday of June, as astrological energies converge powerfully, 3 tests will come, meant only for Sagittarius, like silent invitations to awaken. If you pass, you'll step into a higher realm of light. If not, you may lose a door that no one else can reopen for you. 1. Sagittarius. Do not make big decisions if your heart is still uncertain. You are the sign of bold moves, of yeses that need no second thought. But precisely for that reason, the universe sometimes sends you a challenge called pause. Pause, not because you're wrong, but because some decisions, if made while the heart is still tangled, become double-edged swords that cut into the very dreams you've spent years building. On this day, be cautious of hurried invitations, a surprise trip, an opportunity that feels too good to miss, an emotional urge that makes you want to start or end something big. Dear Sagittarius, that day is not for action. It is for silence. 2. Sagittarius, don't ignore the small things that feel strange. You often move fast, too fast, that you no longer hear the sound of dried leaves cracking beneath your feet. But on that Sunday, practice slowing down, because there will be tiny details, very small ones, that carry within them a very large voice, a number that keeps repeating, a strange dream that jolts you awake, a passing comment from a stranger that stings your heart. I once knew a Sagittarius, a woman who dreamt 3 nights in a row that she was trapped in an elevator. She brushed it off as coincidence. 1 week later, she accepted a job offer from a new company. What no one knew was that the building had a history of elevator malfunctions. And it was in that very building that she experienced a minor but deeply haunting accident. A sign doesn't need to shout for you to hear it. It only needs you, a Sagittarius, to pause even for a single breath. Sagittarius, don't share sacred plans with someone who may not understand your vision. You are an idealistic dreamer, but not everyone can see the depth of those dreams. On a day when energy expands, you may feel an urge to share your beliefs, your hopes, your new project. Because the Sagittarius heart always thinks, if it's beautiful, others will feel it too. But light must be nurtured. If you bring a candle into the wind of someone's doubt, it will go out. The universe gently reminds you, share but only with those who can hold a secret the way they hold a flame in the palm of their hand, because not everyone who smiles with you wishes well for the road you are about to walk. And you know something, Sagittarius? The fact that you've read this far, it's not a coincidence. It's a sign that you are walking the delicate path where signs, trials, and light intertwine. And if you're awake enough to recognize it, you are bright enough to lead the way for someone else. If something within you feels unsettled after reading this part, leave a simple line, as a gentle promise to yourself. I am listening to the signs with a heart no longer afraid. Because once you know what not to do, the most beautiful thing is waiting for you. A gift, called your soul's legacy, is returning to Sagittarius. No one else can hold it but you. Some signs come like lightning across a clear sky, enough to make us tremble. But others arrive like a single leaf falling in the stillness of an afternoon, not loud enough to startle, but quiet enough to make us stop. And sometimes what makes us stop is what ends up saving something that was quietly slipping away. I used to think that signs only came when danger was near. But in truth, some signs come simply to hold on to something that's about to slip from our hands, something our heart is not yet ready to let go. We often assume that when something knocks, it must be a warning, something to be cautious of, something to avoid. But then, I met a woman, and her story taught me something else entirely. That some signs come only to save what your heart quietly still wants to keep. She had everything prepared for her divorce. The legal documents, the words to explain it to her child, even a new room, quiet, just for herself. But that quiet weekend afternoon, as she was packing old things, a song started playing from a Bluetooth speaker she had forgotten to turn off. It was the very first song they had listened to together, back when they had nothing but a dream and empty hands. She sat down, not because she wanted to, but because her legs had no more strength to stand. She cried, not loudly, just quiet tears, falling over everything left unsaid. And instead of signing the papers as planned, she picked up another piece of paper and wrote, "If you still believe in anything between us, please answer this letter." 3 days later, he came back. Not with excuses, but with the eyes he had once lost and now found again. I don't tell this story to say that every marriage can be saved. I tell it so you know this. Not every sign is a warning siren. Sometimes it's simply a quiet invitation. Are you ready to stop walking away from something that once held sacred meaning? For me, one of the most profound human lessons is this. Not everything that's easy to let go should be let go. There are things worth holding on to, not because they're perfect, but because your soul still has something it longs to give them. And if you've read this far, know this, you're holding on to yourself, once again, with your whole heart. And not everything that's been cracked is beyond repair. Even broken places carry memory, and if part of your soul still trembles when it touches something from the past, don't ignore that feeling. It may be the voice of the future, whispering, if you walk away, you will never know what could have happened if you had stayed just a little longer. This Sunday, the sign may come to you in many forms. A song, an old friend, a glance from someone you thought you had forgotten, a recurring dream. And you will have two choices. Dismiss it and go on as before. Or stop, listen, and let your heart speak the rest. If you've ever had a moment like that, keep it for yourself or share it in the comments if your heart feels it's time. Write it down for yourself or leave it below this video because your story may be the light that helps someone else not lose what matters most. This Sunday, for Sagittarius, is not a destination. It is a beginning, not to break apart, but to begin again with an entirely new awareness. What matters is not what the sign brings. What matters is, are you quiet enough to hear the part of you that's truly speaking? And if you feel that door is opening, then walk forward with me, because what's about to be returned to Sagittarius is not just healing, but a legacy that the universe has been holding for you all these years. You've been here, listening until this final moment, which means a very deep part of you has quietly nodded. No applause needed, no spotlight, just this moment when you realize, I heard something, not with my ears, but with my soul. You may not be able to explain it, but you can feel it. You may not know what to do next, but you know, you can't go back to the way things were. Because when a sign arrives, it doesn't just begin a new path. It reawakens a part of your intuition that had been long forgotten and reminds you, you are not just someone who lives. You are someone who feels and someone who was summoned. And if you feel something just touched you, a different breath, a different frequency, please don't brush it away. Pause, write it down, record it, or simply leave a small sign in the comments as a quiet confirmation to the universe. Hey, I heard it, and I am ready to hear more. Thank you, truly, for walking this path with me. Thank you for being brave enough not to dismiss the most delicate feeling in your heart. Thank you for remembering how your soul once knew how to speak. And if you believe these things are real, if you've ever felt a sign that changed your direction, or if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this video with them. A whisper at the right moment might be the only thing a wandering soul needs to find its way back. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Not for me, but for yourself. As a marker, as a vow. I've been touched, and I am ready to move forward. See you again on the next part of the journey, where your intuition will not only be heard, but finally be guided.